Hey everyone, Nick Palkowski here. I am just checking in, seeing how things are going, and today on this Periscope we are going to be talking all about a new project planning checklist for your podcast. So I'm going to actually go through the exact checklist that we use anytime we're working on a new podcast. And so yeah, actually today was just sitting out here doing my little business journal. It's a gorgeous day out. Here, let me quick show you this. So this is the view from my balcony here in downtown Madison. Pretty nice. Got the little park right across the street. It's pretty awesome. So hopefully you all can hear me well. If you can hear me, let me know. Tap the hearts. Otherwise, if it's too crazy, that's fine too. Awesome. So I can see some hearts coming in. So hopefully people can hear me and not getting too much background noise from everything going on here from the street. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking all about the project planning checklist. Like I said, this is what I use whenever we have a brand new client. We actually go through and follow this checklist. And if for those of you who are maybe brand new to this, I am doing a daily scope here. Need to think of a good name for it. I'm just calling it YPG scope because Your Podcast Guru is way too long. But yeah, so we're doing a daily one every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we'll be on. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking all about the project planning checklist. So this, let's say if you're getting ready to start a podcast, if you've been thinking about doing podcasting as a way of getting your message out into the world, this is a great checklist for you because I'm going to walk you through every little thing that we think about before we actually jump on in. And really there's a couple different areas that we're going to cover, and I'm going to pull up my Evernote notebook here. Sorry, big truck. Hopefully you can still hear me. Pull up my Evernote notebook here, and it will walk you through everything that we use. You see the nice grill right there? Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Oh, this is cool too. It's a little fire pit for the balcony. Yeah, I thought you guys might like that. I love that thing. We were using it last night. All right, so now hopefully you can see. I need to adjust this just a little bit. There we go. So now hopefully you can see everything that we're talking about here. A couple different categories that we cover. First is the client info. This might not be as big a deal for you since it's going to be your podcast. You probably have all this stuff, but it's important to think about. Make sure you gather this ahead of time. So you're going to need things like your website, URL, the login to the website, logo, headshot for the cover art, because I think that's one important thing. Is generally, not every podcast, but generally we like to, because most of the podcasts we work with are speakers, consultants, coaches. It's very personal branded, so we want to have their actual headshot in there. Again, you're going to need an email service provider of some sort. Aweber is what I personally use. I also work with a lot of people who use Infusionsoft, MailChimp, GetResponse, Constant Contact, plenty of different options there. And then you're going to need, then we always gather all of our social media info from the client. And here's kind of how a lot of the admin pieces, and you'll notice some of this doesn't apply to everybody, but these are things that we need to use in order to organize and run the podcast. So we use Dropbox to store everything. If you saw the video yesterday, I did a quick tour of the office. I actually have a full separate computer that is connected to an external hard drive that is just running Dropbox. It's pretty crazy. And then I like to create, so let's actually jump on into this. We're going to see if we can jump on over to the master. Whoop. There we go, the master notebook template. So really what this is it's giving a little bit of overview on some premise behind everything. And then it's going to contain the title, author names. This is just the template I use, but we create that for every single podcast that I have. And the reason you want, no, I will not accept an exchange student. Okay, let's see if we can get on back to the... There we go. All right, so once that's created, we go through, create all that the master notebook, the branding. We like to create a content schedule. A lot of this won't necessarily apply to everybody, but this is what we go through with our clients. Here is really the big thing that I want to focus on with you guys, because this is going to be key, is you want to start developing all of the assets for your podcast. And so we break it down into simple little steps and just knock through those things one right after the other. So things like the title, the author name, tagline, description, keywords, those are all in that master notebook. And we also like to design 2 options for the cover art. I'll mention why we do that a little bit later. We create an intro, we create an outro, create some sort of audio commercial. Usually what that is some sort of call to a resource guide. If you go to mitchmatthews.com/025, or one of his earlier ones, not super early, but if you go to mitchmatthews.com/025, that one should have it in there. But basically there is audio commercials that we will play, and essentially it's a call to action to go get a free opt-in resource. We've started switching it up, and where Mitch is actually doing a lot of the reads now. But that is an example of one of those calls to actions if you want to actually see that. You want to create, I like to always have some sort of broadcast template. So we template the email, a very standard closing, the standard opening. Each week it kind of changes a little bit based on the content. But I love using templates. I use templates for everything, basically because that helps us run through and actually move faster when we're putting out all these podcasts. So it helps out a lot. It helps maintain some consistency. Our graphics team also creates an image template, because you'll notice, like say if you go to hellelrod.com, or if you go to mitchmatthews.com, or even youngentrepreneur.lifestyle.com, like a lot of these have the exact same kind of style every single week, a lot of their images. So let's see, what else we also create social media posting schedules, set up the podcast email campaign, create a podcast page. You need to make sure you have some sort of opt-in bribe. That's going to be key. Show notes template. Here, let's quickly show you what that looks like. And it's all in HTML, so it might be a little bit crazy to look at. But basically, it's a template of everything that's included in there. So I can just copy and paste that if I need to, or if somebody else is creating it. We'll often just copy it from WordPress, but this is a way that if for some reason we're not in the WordPress and we just need to use it that way, or if we want to change some stuff, sometimes if I change the template, I'll change it there rather than in WordPress. So that is that. Well, let's see. We also set up an email campaign, set up a welcome email coming soon, and I'll get into some of this later. These are just other things that we create. Follow-up interviewee template. So this is after an interviewee has said, yes, I will be on your podcast. We create a template email that goes out giving them all the information about it, where we talk a little bit about their origin stories, and this is the specific one that I use for the power of podcasting, but we go through the logistics, how we're going to communicate to them. You basically want to lay all this stuff out for your interviewee, just so that way they have as great experience as possible. I even have a little checklist. Let's see if this takes too long to download or not. Okay, there we go. This is a quick checklist of how people can make sure that they get the best quality video interview, including, and it is a PDF, and it includes, if you want to get headphones that people can't really see. But yeah, it's great to have this sort of template, just because it makes it easy for people, for your interviewee, and that's really our goal, is we want to make it as easy as possible. All right, let's jump back in here. So who here is excited about starting their own podcast, or thinking about starting their own podcast? Give me some taps, give me some hearts. Let me know if you're interested in creating your own podcast. This part here is definitely optional, but we've been doing a lot of text message opt-ins lately. If you go to Mitch Matthews is a great example of this. So we were talking about him earlier, but MitchMatthews.com/035, I believe we're on right now. You will see, or even just find his latest one. He has a text message, opt-in message in his podcast. And in order to do that, we run lead pages. I love it. I use lead pages for like everything, but these are the steps that we use to actually go through and create that SMS opt-in, where they get either a specific resource guide to a specific one to their episode, or a more general one just to the podcast. For me, it is cheese curds. Cheese curds, definitely. Not even mozzarella sticks, but it's cheese curds. Yeah, Wisconsin. Remember, fried cheese curds. That's where it's at. Okay, so now let's get into probably the thing you are all excited for, is the actual launch phase. And let me talk to you a little bit about strategy for launching this podcast. So yeah, let's talk strategy first for launching the podcast, how it kind of works. When you're launching a podcast, we are going to try and build as much anticipation as possible. So what I like to do is usually about 3 weeks out, this is all in the checklist too, but at 3 weeks out, we send a survey out to your email list, out to your social media, asking people to take this survey. And really what the main point of it is to start them thinking that, hey, there might be a podcast coming soon. This might be kind of cool. I might want to check this out more. It's to build that anticipation, getting them ready for it. But really, we are asking a couple things. One, we're asking what are the 2 top questions that you absolutely need addressed in the podcast. 2 top questions. That's just open response. We're just waiting to see what people reply to. That will help. We do that for 2 reasons. One, because it helps drive some of the marketing material, drive some of the branding material around the podcast. But then 2, because it actually will give us questions that we can create content for the first few episodes of the podcast. So it's a great little strategy for both making sure we get the wording right on the marketing, but also we answer the questions that people really care about. The next question on the survey is if they would like to be part of the launch team. This is if you're doing the launch team strategy. Love this. I'm really liking this strategy. We just started using it on the last couple launches here, but it's been working really well. And basically helping get the word out about brand new podcasts. And the next thing, so we have that survey email, so there's a couple checklists here, a couple pieces there that you have to get together. But then after that survey email, the next thing we're doing is about 2 weeks out, we are going to do a social media post asking people which of the 2 cover options that we have they like best, A or B. And we just want them to get lots of comments, get lots of shares, ask them for feedback on the covers. I mean, even if we know for sure, or usually we don't know for sure which one we want to use, but we might have one we prefer more, we're still going to throw out 2 because we want to make sure that it resonates with the audience. That's huge. But then 2, this allows people to buy in to the podcast a little bit. They get to feel like they're part of the process, and honestly, they are part of the process. Like even if we like one better, and the other one gets significantly more votes, we're going with the other one. It doesn't matter. We're going to go with what the audience says, because the point of the podcast is not to resonate with what we like, but it's to resonate with what the audience likes, what they really connect with. So be sure to definitely do that. From there, when we're at that's 2 weeks out, at 1 week out, we're going to send email and social media message about the podcast coming soon. Let them know about 1 week. We'll have a coming soon page, which again I create with lead pages. Like I said, love lead pages. But so we're going to create this coming soon page. It might even have a countdown timer, but what it will for sure have is an email opt-in box. Something where people can click a button, opt in to be on the coming soon email campaign. That's another way we can help build anticipation, because for some podcasts, we will go through and create some material around, like some behind the scenes type stuff, maybe a very informal interview with the host, maybe a list of tips, like say if he's a speaker and we're at one of his live events, we will gather tips or thoughts and things like that people have that they've learned from him, and put together a little video and release that and then let people know that, hey, the podcast is coming next week, all that kind of stuff. Also, at 1 week out, we are going to really focus on, actually, let me back up. Let's dive back into this. I'm going to try right here. Perfect. Then I don't even have to, is that too trippy? Perfect. That works great. So, what's going to happen then is we have our launch team, and this is a phenomenal strategy that I'm really liking. It creates a ton of extra work because, like, all of this stuff needs to be created for the launch team, plus you need to manage everything going back and forth. It's creating a whole another web page, it's creating a whole another email campaign. It's a decent amount of work, but we're seeing a lot of great results from it too, when done right. So we start to activate the launch team 2 to 3 weeks out. We don't want to do too soon. We don't want to wait too late, because we want people to have time to be able to really spread the word and help encourage people to check out the podcast. And now here's the final little pieces. We will quietly release the first episode 7 days out. Why do we do this? I like to do this because, one, iTunes can sometimes take a little while, because people are actually reviewing the podcast, so it can sometimes take a little while before your podcast shows up on iTunes. So we want it to definitely be there when we announce it live to the public. But the second and probably the more important reason is we want to have a few, once it is live, so say that takes 24 hours. After 24 hours, we're going to start reaching out to our friends, family. Going to start reaching out to friends, family, and letting them know that the podcast is live, letting them know that, hey, I would really appreciate if you go left a review. And you want to basically seed some reviews for the podcast, because then when people go there on opening day and on the public release and they see that there are reviews there are people who like this show, they're going to be more willing to actually, one, leave a review, but two, even just to listen and subscribe. And that's ultimately the goal of the show, is to get people to listen, subscribe, use, and learn from your content. So we want to seed with a few reviews. And then from there, where was I? From there, we launch 3 episodes on the public release day. Ideally, most of the podcasts we work with are a combination of solo episodes and interviews. So we want the intro episode, which basically just explains why they started the podcast, who the hosts are. So it gives background information on the host, their credentials, why they decided to start the podcast, and what to expect moving forward. What the listener can expect from the future episodes of the podcast. The next one, the second episode, is going to be very focused around content they created. It'll be a solo episode or co-hosted show or something, but it's going to be content that the host created and wants to talk about. Third episode is going to be an interview with someone who will ideally share the podcast and has a reasonable audience. Doesn't necessarily need to be a huge name, because you might not be able to get that right away with a brand new podcast, but it should be someone who will at least share it with their audience, because that's how you're going to help spread the word. So launch with 3 episodes that first week, and then depending on the number of episodes you have ready to roll, you could launch a couple bonus ones during the week, but basically you're just trying to set that standard of, hey, this podcast comes out every week on Thursday or whatever it may be. And then just from there, you are releasing episodes week after week, being consistent, adding value, being authentic. 3 keys that you really need to grow your podcast. So that pretty much covers the entire launch strategy. We also usually will run a review contest where if people leave a review, they get randomly chosen to win a prize, and the best quality review gets the grand prize. That's something we like to do. That strategy has been working really well to encourage reviews in those first few weeks of the podcast when it truly matters. the most. Reviews always matter for a podcast, but when you're new and noteworthy, you want to try and get as many as quickly as possible, so you climb up the new and noteworthy rankings, more people see you. And from there, you're cranking out great content. So that is the Periscope episode here. Tomorrow, I am actually going to be on, hopefully at around noon, or at around 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I'm going to be traveling a little bit, so we're going to have to see what the connection's like. I'm actually heading up to the lake. Going to spend the weekend up there with some old high school friends. We get together twice a year, so this is our summer get-together. And I'm going to talk all about recharging as an entrepreneur, because that is so crucial. And I don't know about you, but I'm not necessarily the best at it. So we're going to kind of talk through a few strategies I use, and I would love to hear strategies that you use as well. So I will see you tomorrow.